Witch, putting the K in magic. I'm Joanna DeVoe, and you're watching another Every Which Way interview. And this time, I am pleased to present you all with Syndee Stein of Deeper Ground. She is a California free spirit and a very unusual, beautifully unusual person who specializes in coaching and mentoring women through the use of body work and movement. And I just thought it'd be really fun to ask her some questions about that. So here she is, Syndee Stein from Deeper Ground. Hi, Syndee. Welcome to Every Which Way.
Hi, thanks. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm really excited to have you because your business, Deeper Ground, addresses an issue that I think is not often addressed in the spiritual and self-development world, and that is grounding, getting into your body, and how important that is. For years, I lived in my head, and I thought I was a very spiritual person. I understood all of the concepts, but it took some trauma for me to realize I wasn't in my body. And so I'm thrilled to get to ask you some questions about that and the services that you offer through Deeper Ground.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I think it's great that you say that because I think a lot of spiritual people are on like an ascension trip. Like they're like aiming towards the spirit and to be like trying to get spiritual, which I'm on a different trip. I'm like on a descension trip. I'm all about trying to get here. I think that the opportunity that we have is actually to learn how to be human and do it really well and do it really kindly. And I think that we really actually are already spiritual. We are, it's not everything that exists has a body. So we're like lucky that we have these. Mm-hmm. And I really think this is where the opportunity is. It's like here between me and between you, and it's what we can do while we're alive.
Yes, and you hear that saying that we are spiritual creatures having a human experience. But I think even though people like to throw that quote around a lot, sometimes we don't even grasp exactly what that means to be here now and really be in your body, and that life itself is a spiritual experience.
It's so true.
And the services,
it's true. I've always, go ahead.
Sorry. You offer 3 services, and the one I want to ask you about first is the body work that you do. I'm just curious what kind of body work that you do.
The hardest question to answer.
Oh, yes. I like to start there.
I'm not a very conventional person. I don't do anything according to the book. So I've been trained, well, let me actually back up. I actually knew I wanted to be a body worker when I was in high school. It was just what I did. I was really into yoga, and I was a dancer growing up. So I'm very kinesthetic, and I love, I don't drink alcohol because I'm very touchy-feely, and it is, not a good thing. People get the wrong idea. So I've learned, that's probably not a good thing for me to do, because so I'm just super kinesthetic. I really learn a lot through my hands and through my senses. So body work was just something that it just seemed like I just did it. And then I moved to Australia, and, the laws are different there. So I worked as a body worker for years, having no training, although I had taken anatomy and physiology, and I was trained as an herbalist, and I had an understanding of the body and of therapeutics. It wasn't like I was just, I had no training whatsoever, but I was never trained as a body worker.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And I worked for years in spas and all these things in Australia, and I had my own private business. And then when I moved back to the States, I was like, wow, I should probably, get a license or something.
Wow, I've definitely never heard this before.
Right. Yeah, so I got training, and what I realized was, it's kind of something you have or you don't. You can learn to add skills, but no one can really teach you how to listen with your hands or how to read the body from your mind. It's something you have to want to do, and you just have to pay attention.
It
So
reminds me
everything I
so much
learned,
of music. Like you hear trained musicians always, you know, on the one hand, they're thankful for the training and the skill that gave them, but they always say they admire people who aren't trained because that seems to be where the creativity comes in and the listening. So it reminds me so much of that.
it's so true. Yeah, it's like you're tapping into something that already exists. It's not like you're trying to create something new.
Are you using
That's what
massage? Are you using, what are you doing specifically? Like if I went and laid down on your table, what would happen to me?
What would happen to you? I would probably, I work with people fully clothed. I would probably have you lay down, and I usually like rock people, and like, I rock and I press and I push and I wiggle things and I shake things and I twist people, and sometimes it's really different depending on who you are, what you're dealing with. I can be very physical or very, very subtle depending on what's needed.
So you work with a goal in mind? Like would somebody come to you and say, I'm trying to process such and such trauma? And then would you approach that, you know, the session from that point of view?
Well, that's really interesting. Most people don't say that. Most people come in, this is in the body, when people come in through the bodywork channel, they're usually like, my shoulder hurts. And I usually uncover whatever's underneath that. So most people don't come in and say, oh, you know, I'm having a trauma.
Do you kind of subscribe to that Louise Hay theory that, you know, your shoulder represents this particular thing and your neck represents this and your stomach represents that, or do you think it's different for each person?
I think it's different for each person. I think, you know, we're a system. So you're gonna, you know, if you're feeling something, people store feelings in different places and in different ways. And I think it's interesting to go, wow, you know, there's this knot behind your heart. This probably has an energetic component. But I also think it can be limiting to think that way. But to really see the whole person, and, you know, you might be storing hurt from your heart in your foot. So I just think people are really, really different, and it's interesting, and it's a great guideline to be able to start looking at things. And, like, I don't like to be put in a box, so I don't like to put other people in a box. So it's more about, for me, it's more about when you've got energy moving, you're healthy. And when you don't have energy moving, you're not healthy. So it's more about getting the energy moving as opposed to, like, therapizing.
Right. And do you feel like you're picking up on their energies when you're working with them and that you have to do grounding work afterward, or are you pretty good at shielding yourself, and how does that work for you?
That's a great question. It's so great because I don't even think about that anymore. I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, I remember when I used to be so affected by people. Like, so affected. Everyone I worked on, it was like I would feel all weird. And that never happens anymore. And I realize it's because I don't try to protect myself in the sense of, like, I don't try to block anybody or, like, oh, they've got things going on, I need to be careful. I actually I breathe and I move my energy through me. So I don't have to block anything, and then whatever is happening, I'm just moving it through. And so I actually get really super energized from working with people as opposed to feeling drained.
And then you also teach movement classes. So is that kind of a off-the-table version of what you're doing with the body work?
Exactly.
Can you maybe take us through what a class might be like with you?
Sure. Well, they're all really different because it's just I'm working with, hey, who's here? Who showed up? Where are they at? And what do I sense is needed for them to create more movement? So, but oftentimes what I'm working with is, I'm always working with getting people moving. So if people come in and it feels like they're kind of holding themselves in really, really tight and they're uncomfortable and they're not moving and they're not letting them, then I'll try anything. I'll be like, all right, grab a partner and bang on their back. I'll be like, make yourself, move in a way that you are acting super silly. I'll like get them using their voices. I'll get them in partners. I'll do whatever it takes to get people moving and like to the point where they're starting to have fun and their feelings are flowing.
It does sound fun. Is it mostly women that come to your classes?
Yeah, well, right now I'm only teaching for women.
Mm-hmm.
I'm teaching I'm teaching once a month on a Saturday. It's a 2-hour workshop for women, and we're working on the principles of relationship and how to be really connected to yourself as a woman, and how to let your feelings flow through you but not take over you and not push them down.
That's a great service. I've watched, you have 4 videos up that I've seen that I know of, and it seems like relationships are your specialty outside of the body work. You have some very interesting, wise, profound things to say that I really personally resonated with. And even not even about relationships, the first video I watched of yours was about jealousy. And I thought that was so fantastic. I wrote it down. Remember to ask Syndee about jealousy, because I just wanted you to tell my viewers your take on what jealousy is and how that can serve you.
That's awesome. Yeah, jealousy is an awesome tool. I know, it blows people's mind, but jealousy is great. It's like people have this idea, well, we've been taught that it's a sin, oh, you shouldn't feel jealous. And if you do, there's something wrong with you. But in my worldview, if you feel jealous, all it means is that somebody has a skill that you don't. They have something that you want. And so rather than tearing them down or, starting to belittle them so you don't have to feel bad about not having that skill, you're your teacher. Study them. Look at what are they doing. They're doing something. They know how to do something, and if you actually let yourself admire them, you can really learn from them, as opposed to just tearing them down and then you both don't have that skill. So I personally love to get jealous. I'm like, ooh, great, I get to learn something. I'm getting closer to something I want because you know how to do it.
That's beautiful. It's a great example, another example that we're all mirrors for each other. That was one of the profound things that I learned on my spiritual journey, is that, when you're really, really hating on someone and they really push your buttons, especially someone you don't even know very well, that you just, they irritate you at a party or something, you're hovering over something that has to do with yourself, something in yourself you don't like. And then the thing that I really loved was when I learned, if you love Madonna or you love Oprah Winfrey or whoever you're a big fan of, there's something in you that's being reflected in that person. And I thought the video that you made about jealousy was kind of just taking that to another level, We're all just mirrors for each other, and what you pick up on other people is really yourself reflecting back at you.
Yeah, it's true in a lot of ways. It's really true if you don't like someone or there's something about them. Because usually, I have my preferences. I'd rather hang around people that are alive and moving their energy and really, have the zest for life. Mm-hmm. But if somebody, and I don't like being around people that are fearful and super afraid of everything and not having fun. It's not fun, but I can navigate them really well, unless they've got something going on that's triggering me. Then that's about me. So, yeah.
I think that goes along with a lot of what I pick up off of you of just living in the moment. You tend to be very present here on the planet, and you like to go with the flow of the person you're interacting with or the group of people you're interacting with. And I think that's so much to do with being grounded, deeper ground, being rooted and all of that. Where did you come to that idea? How did you first decide that was going to be your thing?
Wow. I think I came in, I was born already kind of connected to, I always watched people as a kid. I was really shy, and I would watch people, and I was always kind of watching their energy and what they were saying and how that lined up or didn't line up, and it was really fascinating to me. And then, there's nothing like a lot of heartache and struggle to kind of like get you on track, right?
Yeah.
So I think, so going through a lot of challenges and realizing that I wasn't being fully true to myself and having enough pain and suffering that it became, a choice became very obvious, like go this way or go this way. Mm-hmm. And then I chose myself and nurturing my truth. And what happened was I had to and I still do it, I'm still on the journey of uncovering, taking off layers of behaviors and beliefs that come from trying to protect myself that, and not really, so I keep uncovering deeper and deeper layers of who I truly am.
Yeah. I think that's a lifelong journey for all of us, or most of us anyway.
Hopefully.
I think it's very exciting. I love those moments. I love it when I have an epiphany or I realize like, whoa, I'm totally doing that and I'm never doing it again. Maybe that's just because I'm a spirit junkie in a way. I just love that stuff. But those moments are pretty exciting for me.
It's awesome. It's a great attitude.
Yeah.
It's such a great attitude. It's why you've been able to move so much in your life, because you're not protecting yourself from, what you don't do well. You're like, wow, great. Let me work on it. It's a great attitude.
Yeah, I love psychology, and I like to point that at myself, probably do some navel gazing sometimes. That's why it was important that I learned to get into my body when I really got into trouble, because you really can just, I think different traumas and things like that push us up into our heads, and body work, things like that are so important. Do you incorporate that into the third component of your business, which is mentoring on Skype? How do you bring a physicality to a Skype session?
Yeah, well, yes. Well, it's on Skype and I work in person. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's really about like I'm working always on connecting with my body. So as I'm talking to you, I'm not like talking to you from my head, which has a really different feel. I'm actually feeling myself. Like I'm feeling myself breathe. I'm feeling my skin. I'm like, oh, my palms are warm. I can feel where I'm sitting on the chair. I can feel where I'm not sitting on the chair. I can feel where I'm breathing. I can feel where I'm rushing. So I work on modulating based on the awareness that I get in my body. I'm using my body as a sort of compass. And so when I work with people, I help them do the same. So I'm like, hey, what do you feel? And then people start talking, oh, this thing happened in my life. I'm like, okay, great. What are you feeling right now? Like, can you talk about that and stay connected to your body at the same time? Now that really takes people off of their trajectory, their mental trajectory. And that's why they experience so much profound. They're like, whoa, I've never experienced this before, because I'm not giving them mental tools to apply later. I'm working with people on the mechanics right now. And then we can look at situations in your life, but not, again, like therapizing them. Like, oh, well, you could do this and try that. It's more like, what can you do differently right now that's going to affect that situation?
And do they come to you for coaching and mentoring for life goals they're trying to achieve? Or is that more your focus, or things that they're trying to overcome? Or does it kind of run the gamut?
It runs the gamut.
Yeah.
It really runs the gamut. And what people think they're coming for, is generally not what they're actually coming for.
So you're trying to get to the bottom of that, I'm assuming.
Deeper ground. Always the deeper ground.
You have a tagline. What is it? Root into reality, or root in reality? Is that what you say?
Where dreams take root in reality.
There, yes, I like that. I like that very much. And you talk about on your blog having experience in an abusive relationship and with schizophrenia, is that something that sparked this for you? What did you learn from that? Is that why you want to help other people, or is that a component of it?
Yeah, that was an experience. Basically, what I learned through that experience is that you can't live anyone else's life, and you can't make anyone want to grow, and you can't make anyone have the same values as you, and you can't choose anything for anyone.
And the person you were with had schizophrenia, correct?
Yeah, I developed schizophrenia.
Okay. And so you wanted to make him well? Is that what was
I wanted him to want to be well. I wanted him to want to be well. I wanted him to want to get help. I wanted him to want the kind of life I wanted, which was to learn and grow and have babies and, have a human experience, and that's not what he wanted. And he didn't choose to get help. He chose to... Not my husband, he's going to work.
My husband!
Hello.
He's, he didn't want that. He was identified. He wanted suffering. He wanted to be identified as a victim, and that's what he wanted. And so I learned, wow, I'm really being disrespectful for trying to get him to change. And I'm losing my own life in the meantime. I'm not pursuing my dreams because I'm trying to convince him to have the same ones as me.
Wow, that's very wise of you. And now you're on that path. You found, maybe your soulmate. I don't know if you believe in that kind of thing, but definitely your husband. You just got a brand new house, from what I understand from following you on Twitter. And you've got this beautiful business. So, maybe oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, it all came because I hit my bottom. I hit my bottom and I was like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. This guy's going to beat me up or kill me or OD on drugs or something, and I'm going to be alone, and this sucks. This is not the life I want. And I was like, I'm done. And from that point forward, I was like, I could feel, I knew what I wanted. And then I went out to get it. And I started with myself, and this is a lot of the way I mentor people, women particularly. A lot of, in this society, we're so pushed for your career. I didn't go that way. I got I need to get my health together. I need to get my soul, I need to get in alignment with my soul's mission. And then once I got on a path of learning and growing and I felt solid, I was like, I want to get married. I know I want to have kids. And, as women, we have a window. So I was like, so I went out and I got my husband like it was a job. I was like, I'm going to get a husband. And, I manifested this guy, and he's super deep and soulful and just really grounded. He's so grounded and not, and I'm crazy and spiraling and everywhere. And he's just he just boom, boom, boom. And it's great for me. It's a fabulous teamwork. And then once I got solid in my relationship with him, then I was like, all right, I'm ready to share what I know, what I've learned and what I've applied and what has worked with the world. So for me, my job is an overflow from my life as opposed to something I do on the side. It's wow, I've figured out how to make the most bomb tortillas. And I have so many extras. I've already fed my family. And I have extra tortillas, so do you need some? So that's how I have gone about building. So for me, I'm not all gotta change the world. I'm I gotta take care of myself. And now that I'm steady and stable, I actually have something to share with you.
I love that tortilla analogy, especially because we're in sunny California. And also, it's such a feminine approach, which you hardly ever hear people take, is that receptive energy of, I'm going to fill myself up and take care of me. Like attracts like. And, that's how you attract that more appropriate partner for yourself, and then probably all the clients too. It's magnetic.
Exactly. And a lot of girls that I talk to, women that are like trying to coach and their businesses, they're like, I'm doing all the right business things and I don't know why it's not working. And I'm like, well, are you taking care of yourself? Do you want to be in a relationship? Are you focused on figuring out what you want and how you're going to get it? Like on a personal level, like as a being, like as a woman. So yeah, exactly like you're saying. It is a very feminine, it is a very kind of traditionally feminine approach, and it feels really good to me. And for all the women that work with me and start to do that, like they just get so much happier and everything flourishes because it's like working with your design. It's working with what you've been given, as opposed to trying to copy a male model, which is really not going to work. Yeah. I mean, it might work for a time, but
you say traditional feminine role, and it is if you want to go way back in time. But really, in my lifetime, in my mother's lifetime, we've all tried to be men. We've tried to like male power energy our way into careers and into life, and that's just not congruent with who we are as women. So I think we're always going to feel a little like, why doesn't this suit fit, as we march our way into war, or whatever it is how we're trying to approach whatever it is we're trying to create.
And wonder why men don't want to be around us.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because we're competing with them, and they're like, men are like, what are you doing? In my experience, men want to be around women because we provide like warmth and like it's an energy. And if you're like shutting down your energy to achieve something, it's really hard. Nobody's going to want to be around you.
I think that might explain some of the anger, even from women, sometimes especially from women, that I see around the feminist movement. I consider myself a feminist, but that word is like fire. That word really offends some people. A lot of women don't want to identify with that. And I think that's because sometimes in the feminist movement we'll kind of take on that male warrior stance, and maybe it's intimidating, maybe it's upsetting, I don't know. But some things that you were saying just now kind of made me think about that.
It's true. Like there was amazing things that the feminist movement did, like amazing. I mean, I can wear whatever I want. I can vote. I have, I can, so many things, I can spend money. I can make money. I'm very free. And I'm super appreciative for all of those things. And I'm not a man. I'm not the same as my husband. We're wired very differently. And if I forget that, and I either try to copy him, he doesn't like it, and it doesn't create flow. It's not about he doesn't like it. It doesn't work. It creates dissonance.
Yeah.
And
I don't think the work of the feminist movement is all the way done. We still haven't achieved equal pay, and now like with politics, they're like wanting to take away certain rights. But I see women like, Oprah Winfrey comes to mind first because she's the first that kind of came onto the scene in my opinion, with a feminine approach to life. But then you look at someone like Marie Forleo, who is leading this like huge movement of women entrepreneurs who are running businesses like Deeper Ground and these more feminine based companies. And I think, wow, maybe that's the thing that's going to finally close the gap, is by just being strong as women and standing in who we really are.
Yeah, and if you look at Marie Forleo, she's warm. She's not like, she's not trying to be a man. She's warm, and she's good at business, and she's just taking responsibility for what she does well, and she's sharing it in a really warm and like feminine way.
Yeah, she's
she's inviting. She's not using fear. She's not like, you're going to miss out. You got to get this. Like, drive. It's like she's very balanced and calm.
And silly.
And playful.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's exactly, she's a great model for women who want to start business. I think it's great. And I think you're right. We have a lot we have a lot further to go, and we're starting to see, an underground kind of like movement in the direction of women are the most powerful. We have the most power on the planet right now, even though we don't get paid. I'm talking about deeper ground kind of power, like underlying power. We have so much more power than we realize. And that's actually one of the things I learned from going through an abusive relationship was like, wow, I really was acting like a victim, and I didn't realize how much power I had.
Yeah, we give it away.
Yeah.
And I think, too, something that's really been profound in being a part of that Marie Forleo community online and chatting with women is that it's not true that women are catty and they don't have each other's back. I've actually seen the exact opposite of that. At least in that community, everybody is so supportive of everyone else and like really cheers each other on. I don't know if that's because the tone Marie sets or whatever, but even before that.
And you're not in personal relationships with them. It's like there's a safety because you're not, like, people are nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's an intimate relations. Like, look at your relationship with your parents, your kids, your siblings, your cousins, your partner, like the people that you're around on a daily basis. That's where you really see your skill level in relationship, way more than you do in business, because it's safer. They're not pushing your buttons as much. So I think I'm just saying, like, take any one of those people that are in that community, and they might be doing great in a business area, but like you don't know how to interact with if you were like their best friend or something, you're going to discover. The closer you are to someone, the more you discover, the more what you're challenged with reveals itself. And I think that's a beautiful thing. See, I think the beauty of a relationship, for me, the whole reason I got married was because I can transform. Like, more of what's not functioning in me rises to the surface for me to look at and work through and transform and turn into strength. Yeah. So I think, yeah.
And I know you'd made a video about that as well. You watch yourself in your relationship and catch yourself. You're willing to apologize and take responsibility. It's so important. I see relationship workshops in your future, Syndee.
It's true. It's funny. A lot of my clients have been bringing their partners into into their sessions, and I'm like, it's kind of just happening. I'm like, I should probably set something up for this. So who knows? Maybe in the very, very near future.
Well, the theme for me with Kick-Ass Witch is to shine a light on women that I think are kicking ass. So can you tell us maybe one of your favorite tips for kicking ass as a woman, or what you're doing to live the most kick-ass life of your dreams?
That's such a sweet question. Oh, let's see. Okay, so the best tool that I know how to be a kick-ass in your life and in your relationships and just a kick-ass person is to take time when you're with people to actually breathe and feel yourself and connect to who you are and share whatever you share from that place. Like when you're really connected to your own sense of feeling and your own sense of self, whatever you share is a contribution. So I know that's a really simple tip. It's not fancy, but it really works. Breathe and feel yourself before you talk to someone. As you're with them, as I'm with you, Joanna, I'm working on feeling myself so that I can bring me to you as opposed to just some ideas.
I love that.
So that's my tip.
I don't think that's overly simple. Syndee Stein's kick-ass tip. Breathe. Don't forget to breathe. And
breathe, move, feel, and relate.
So I'm definitely going to link to Deeper Grounds down below, but is there anything that you have upcoming that you specifically want to tell everybody about, or anything in particular that you'd like to point them to before I let you go?
Sure. Well, the next movement workshop for women to connect more to your natural receptive nature and be way more vitally healthy, alive, make relationships work with women, with men, everywhere. How to be basically more able to attract what you really want. My next workshop is June 16th, and I invite anybody who's in LA to any woman who's in LA to come join me. And other than that, I really just am behind all of you. I believe in all of you that you can get what you really need by knowing that you're capable. You are so capable. So I'm behind you.
Well, thank you so much, Syndee. I loved getting to chat with you.
Absolutely. Such a pleasure to meet you, Joanna.
Yay, much love. Peace.